I don't know about you, but the thought of Paul Ryan being Speaker of the House doesn't excite me a bit. And I don't hold out any hope, nor do I believe that there's going to be any sea change of attitude. And whereas yesterday Joe Biden said that he wasn't going to run for the presidency, there was an air of disappointment in my head about this sales pitch that it seems the vice president's making, that we all need to get along and the partisanship and the bickering that's taken place in Washington has to stop. Well, Mr. Vice President, I hope you're not talking to the Democrats, because the Democrats, the liberals, aren't the ones that have been doing all the blocking of any kind of legislation that would move this country forward, such as infrastructure and jobs. The Democrats have not voted to get rid of health care, to take it away from 10 million people. The Democrats haven't stopped everything in its track with a record number of filibusters. So, I don't know who the vice president was talking about yesterday. I think he was talking about the totality of Washington. Well, wait a minute. We got to get to the root of the problem more than that. It is the Republicans. And now there's this jargon about whether they're friends or not. Look, they are political adversaries, and at the top of the list, you're going to find, or at least close to the top of the list, you're going to find the guy that was on the vice presidential ticket last time, and that's Paul Ryan, who's the chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee. This guy wants to privatize everything he can get his hands on. So I don't share in this enthusiasm that, oh, my goodness, we're going to have a Speaker of the House. Katrina Vanden Heuvel, editor, part owner of The Nation, joins us. Katrina, good to have you on.
Hey, thank you, Ed.
Your thoughts on Paul Ryan?
Well, let me just, on Joe Biden, I mean, I think he ended the Hamlet on the Potomac drama with dignity, and I think he will still play an important role, but I do think that was the shot across the bow at Hillary Clinton, this idea that Republicans are not our enemies. They're not enemies, but they are adversaries, and they are ideologues, and they have different ideas, and there's nothing wrong with a partisanship of ideas to insist on, for example, government is there to improve the conditions of people's lives, which is something Joe Biden has said he believes in fervently and has acted on as best he can for these last decades. Paul Ryan, as you said, is someone who's wanted to privatize everything that moves. I was struck in 2000 and, the last election, Ed, when, he was lifted up. Paul Ryan was lifted up as this character of courage and audacity. For what? For trying to build a budget on the backs of working people, of poor people. I mean, 3/5 of the cuts in that budget, which was touted as the second coming, would inflict pain on those who are the most hurt by the recession, by financial pain, wanted to privatize Medicare, one of the great programs of our country. So, I think the landscape has shifted. I think the speaker's race has, as our national affairs correspondent William Greider writes in the cover story this week in The Nation, it's about a GOP crack-up.
Yeah.
And it's about a crack-up between the country club Republicans, who have long had their way, with hardline social extremist conservatives who understand they've gotten shafted, right? This is the old game, but they're seeing it more clearly. So it's quite a historic moment, and I think to put it in that context gives it a little more oomph, so to speak, as we witness the Republican Party's travails.
Well, the Freedom Caucus last night did not give a formal endorsement, but they did give a supermajority, which, by the math, is going to give Paul Ryan enough votes to be the Speaker of the House if he wants to do it. So, that
supermajority, though, is, as you said, it's weak coffee in some ways. I mean, it's going to put them back in that position where the Speaker is under constant assault by, those who are using the word freedom, and it drives me crazy the way the word freedom is deformed. But the so-called Freedom Caucus, wants its way. Now, it is the case, I think, both on the Democratic and Republican side, that members should have more input into leadership. But the Freedom Caucus has its own agenda, which isn't much of an agenda. It's basically repeal everything, hold 15 hearings on things that don't need to be held, and don't pass legislation that actually improves the conditions of people's lives. So I know that Ryan is also trying, this motion to vacate the chair. to eliminate that, because he saw what that did to Boehner. It was the tool used to push Boehner into retirement. And so I think the Freedom Caucus is having its way. We'll see what works out.
Okay. Katrina Vanden Heuvel with us, part owner, editor of The Nation magazine.